I am Saint Nick of hair loss. I mean, let's face it, I am the fourth most popular YouTuber dedicated largely to the topic of hair loss. So it sort of only makes sense. Saint Nick of hair loss. Let's see if I can make anything happen with that. The whole Top Gun Maverick of hair loss, why don't people make fun of that? It's so stupid. It's funny because Top Gun, I was 5 when the first one came out in 1986, and now they got the new one coming out in 2020. And it's funny because it's like, instead of just calling it Top Gun 2, it's Top Gun Maverick. So that's funny. Let me just adopt that. And so far, not one person has made fun of that. But everything I do is ridiculous on this channel, and people take it seriously. So let's just roll with it. All right, here we go. We need to check out a comment. And I think this is in that whole concept of people taking me more seriously than they should. I made a video where I was standing right here with a Metallica shirt. Well, you can't see that well and that's too bright, but I made a video called "Think You Might Be Losing Your Hair? Want Someone to Look? Ask Your Barber, Not Me." And 251 views, 3 comments, 7 thumbs up, and 0 dislikes. That's rare that no one dislikes. But what I was saying is, you can imagine if you're me, if you're the 4th most popular YouTuber in the world that is focused on hair loss, you can imagine what happens. People email me all the time. They send me Instagram messages and they reach out to me and they want me to look at their hair. And I refuse. I do not want to look at anybody's hairline. Why? Because what are they going to do? If I tell them, yeah, actually you do have a hairline similar to mine and you're 22, what are they going to do? Well, then what's the cure? How do I stop it? I don't want to be responsible for that. I don't want to be involved in that. I don't want to make people think that there's a cure for hair loss. I think it's ridiculous to say that there's a cure for hair loss and that there ever would be, because it's like saying I'm too short, I need a cure for me being too short, or I'm too pale, I need a cure that I'll have darker skin. It's your DNA. It's your DNA. There's not a cure for your DNA. Your DNA determines it. You can do whatever you want to do to try to slow down your hair loss. I know even Ashton Kutcher was taking something like that for most of his career, and now he stopped. And it worked. It did the job. But he even said himself on Conan, he's like, well, now we're going to see what happens when I stop taking it. That's not a cure. All it did was just slow down the process. Ultimately, it's our DNA. So going back to this video, think you might be losing your hair, want someone to look, ask your barber, not me. In that video, I very strongly send a message out saying, look, I am a paid entertainer. I am a clown. No one should take me seriously about hair loss. And I said, if anybody is going to know, it's your barber or whoever cuts your hair. I go to Great Clips, okay? So the girl at Great Clips, even if she's 24 years old, is going to know more about your hair than most people would. They deal with that for a living. They see male pattern baldness and they know what is and what's not. They can more accurately predict who's going to be losing their hair sooner than not. They know what to expect. That's what I did when I was 19 or 20, and the lady that cut my hair, she was right. So that's what I'm going to say. But what's interesting, we have a resident barber, Maxwell Smart, one of my favorite subscribers and viewers, and he left a comment basically implying that maybe I wasn't exactly speaking such words of wisdom that I thought. So here's what he said. I'm putting on my glasses. It's a long comment. All right, long comment, glasses on, here we go. Maxwell Smart, quote, they ask you to look at their hair because of it's anonymous. In order to ask their barber, they need to overcome their insecurity of broaching the topic in public. If they establish a good relationship and maintain loyalty to the person who cuts their hair, they will become more comfortable asking these questions. A barber is a good judge, but not a hair loss expert. They can express an opinion and they can suggest a better style. A good barber might even bring up the topic himself. They can also help their clients go shorter over time. I think I'm a good barber. I know I'm a good listener, and I pick up different vibes quickly. Occasionally, I do get asked the question, do you think I'm losing my hair, going bald, going to go bald? I will answer to the best of my ability, and honestly, I know my clients. Some handle a direct, honest answer better than others, while others need a more diplomatic one. If I broach the topic then, it's because I have noticed a change and that their current choice of hairstyle just enhances their hair loss. A true diagnosis can only be done by a doctor, a dermatologist, or a trichologist, which I've never heard of. That's my take on asking your barber, Max. end quote. So what's interesting is Max has a similar kind of feel about all of this. He's a professional barber. If you're ever in Germany, you need to go find him, because that's what it is. You should go get him to cut your hair. He's the professional. And all the people in my life, when I think of the best barber in the world, I think of Maxwell Smart, and I've never even met the man. And he himself is saying that he's not a hair loss expert. So it's interesting to think, well, then who is? And he just named dermatologist and truck. So now we know. So I just think it's interesting, because now I have to take my glasses off to symbolize something, I guess. But ultimately, because that's what people do on TV and movies, you know, they have to, let me be frank, and then they take off the glasses, and somehow taking off the glasses allows them to be more direct. So here's what we're dealing with. Maybe I'm not giving myself enough credit. People will always show up in the comments and say, you claim to be a hair loss expert, but... And then I immediately laugh and say, no, I'm not a hair loss expert. I'm a clown. I make money from these ads, the shows for the videos. I feed your obsession. No, you're obsessed. Okay, I'm obsessed with making money off of people who are obsessed. You know, the only reason I make 10-minute videos is because I show 2 ads in there and make more money. But through all of that silliness, what if I really am some sort of accidental hair loss expert? What if? I feel that I'm pretty good at knowing if someone's going to go bald or not. I keep mentioning him. Watch his channel. Tell him that I sent you. Ryan George is his name, but his specific channel that I'm obsessed with is called Screen Rant, which he does an amazing job of, in a very funny way, tearing apart any movie you've ever seen with all the plot holes in any good movie. So, but with him, he's 30 years old. He's from Canada. He is basically just your Norwood one. He's a no hair loss situation kind of guy. He's 30 years old, no thinning. He has a beard, but it's a weak beard. It's not a Nick Shell beard. It's almost like his mustache is disconnected right here. It's almost like a chin strap beard. I can tell from that, and from the fact that he's 30 years old and has no hair loss other than just the temples. That's not hair loss, so that's just your hairline maturing. That guy's not gonna go bald anytime soon. And it's so obvious to me. And I will admit, in real life, I've walked up to younger guys in their 20s that I knew that are not gonna go bald, and I let them off the hook and I say, hey man, you've got a weak beard. You're not gonna go bald. I can look at you, your facial hair is so weak, your hairline is framed in so tight. How old are you? 20? Yeah, you're good. You got nothing to worry about. And then they'll say, well, it's true. There's really no men in my body. And they'll tell all these reasons why. But I can just look at somebody and know if they're more likely to go bald. So I guess, you know, like sometimes in superhero movies, they have to like come to terms with their superpowers. And I kind of think, even in year number 4 of making hair loss videos, I just don't want the responsibility of considering myself as a hair loss expert. But if Maxwell Smart, a professional barber, if even he's backing away from the topic and saying that he's not, then maybe I'm the best thing there is to a hair loss expert, other than going to someone that's got doctor in front of their name, that's got some kind of medical degree. And it's funny because my degree is in English. I majored in English. That's it. But you can imagine I've made well over 2,700 videos. Yes, 2,700 videos about hair loss over 4 years. I've talked to a lot of people. I've read a lot of comments. I've done a lot of observations. I've interviewed a lot of people on this channel who are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s who have perfect heads of hair. And the whole thing about having the weak facial hair, or one guy even said he couldn't even grow hair under his arms until he was in his late 20s. And this is a guy who's now 50 with a perfectly framed in hairline with no hair loss at all. But his brother, he said, was bald young. So, you know, that's why I always say you can't just base it off of your mother's father, because when you have brothers, they're not necessarily going to have the same kind of hair loss situation. So am I arguably to some degree a hair loss expert? I really do know more than most people do about the subject by default. I have all these theories and no, I'm not a professional. And people, well, you ought to do your research. But no, I'm not going to do my research. I don't care. I don't care if I'm right or wrong. But what I am seeing is these general rules that I've observed and shared in my videos. They apparently, in general, they're true. I don't care about being right all the time. If they're true over half the time, that's worth taking notice of. You know, this whole thing about how Asian men are a lot less likely to lose their hair early on in life, you know, and they're less likely to ever be able to grow a full beard. That's not a coincidence. Of course, the trade-off is, the negative payoff on that is, if you're an Asian man living in Asia, there's a whole lot more pressure on you to not go bald, since most Asian men don't go bald early in life. If you do, then it's like, and then on top of that, like there's other cultures like India, and much of India, depending on what part of India you are, but a lot of their culture says you don't shave your head unless you're mourning the death of a parent. So here in America, we kind of get away with this. If you can get away with shaving your head and be okay. So it's interesting to consider all that. But with all my hair loss theories, how ethnic background plays a key, the more Asian you are, the less likely you are to lose it. And just, did you see the video I made with my mom? How she was saying, you know, half of her DNA is Mexican, goes back to Native America and Spain, but that her brothers are all in their 60s, they've got zero hair loss. But then you go on the Italian Jewish side, Middle Eastern side, then you will see the balding on that side. But it skips generations and so on. So it's interesting to see how ethnicity plays into it, how your ability to go a full connected beard by age 18 is going to have something to do with it. And no one else is really talking about this stuff, and I continue to talk about it. I'm really good at knowing if someone's going to go bald or not. But I guess the thing is, I don't care that I'm right. I have a high conflict personality. So those who believe in what I'm saying, I think that I'm able to help you psychologically deal with the concept of balding. I was about to say with the fact that you're balding, but most of my viewers are not balding. They just fear it. And part of what I'm trying to do with this channel is to get you to stop watching my videos and stop caring about hair loss, to get you to finally be so comfortable with the thought of going bald that you stop watching my videos and just live your life as a 20-year-old, like you should, because you're not balding right now at least. But the sooner we come to terms with the fact that any of us may go bald at any point, then we can start living our lives. But am I a hair loss expert? If a barber says he's not, it kind of makes me feel like I accidentally am a hair loss expert. You be the judge. Comment section belongs to you right here.